Today's episode is about feeling incompetent and feeling inadequate. And it's all about being not happy with your progress. You maybe have had a physical setback. You feel something is limiting you in work, in the structure of leadership that you're under, in your family life. And in those limits, you are not terrible for feeling angry and feeling defeated. I look at it as the high jump versus the limbo game. It's like you are either trying to jump higher and do more, or you're like, oh my gosh, there's more and more that's pressing me down and limiting me, and I'm just trying to contort myself more and more to get under that limbo stick and not fall on my butt, right? So here's the thing. I can't tell you that it's going to get better. You can't know for sure that it's going to get better. But maybe we could take a look at the emotional lie that is underlying all of that, because that's the part that we can address and then negate by paying attention to it and catching ourselves whenever that starts to flare up in our thinking. For me, it's the lie that says, well, my progress isn't how I thought it would be or how someone else is telling me it should be. So I must be failing. I must be behind, and therefore I must not really be making a difference. I think of myself and you as accomplished and capable achievers, right? We are people who are going to keep figuring out ways to improve, and all of that is positive until somebody says, well, jump higher, do more. Or somebody says, okay, well, I'm going to keep wanting that out of you, but I'm going to say, this is all the limitations that are now going to be put on you. And in the case of physical limitations, not being able to do what you used to be able to do, that in and of itself, nobody else is putting that on you, but your own body is struggling to do the same things that it used to. In all of those, the emotional lie is really about how we're saying to ourselves, I'm not making progress enough to make a difference. And that's where we have to maybe take a look at redefining and expanding. It's not changing how we see making a difference and making an impact. It's becoming more finessed at how we're going to say this still makes an impact and makes a difference. Because when we're under limitations, or whether we're finally having to say, look, all those demands are unreasonable and I'm going to have to kind of hold my ground and just do what I'm going to do, and that has to be sufficient. Those kinds of boundaries are still not taking away the fact that in our minds, in our way of looking at our own showing up, we might be still beating ourselves up for not truly, doing more. So even if we're telling somebody else, look, this is all I can do, so this is all you're going to get, it's that underlying inner battle that we will have to deal with, and we have to get better at neutralizing. So I think the pivot should be, you have to ask yourself or say to yourself, my progress isn't how I thought it would be. Okay, it's not how I thought it would be. But I have to keep evolving my perspective on progress. I have to dig deeper and look at it with more mind, heart, spirit, expanded perspective, so that I can still grab that sense of I'm adequate, I am where I need to be, and I am actually on track. I'm moving forward and competent. That is not a game. It's not a mental trick. It's asking for that kind of assurance that what we're going through, and even in this new limitation or this need to say, okay, I'm not going to keep jumping higher. I have to be okay with this because this is sustainable, and what I'm being asked to do is not sustainable. So I'm finally going to pull myself back and stay here with just this amount that I give. That is your new way of approaching the need for sustainability and the long marathon of slow but more steady progress. So give yourself credit that even as maybe self-image suffers under the stress of, either being asked for more all the time, or feeling the pressure in that limbo game of just having to constantly okay, now I got to change again and now I got to adapt again. Just give yourself credit that even in that, there is such great value and deep purpose. And if you have to start redefining progress, redefining, what does that look like, then you have to go into that expanded aspect of what is it deepening in me, even if I feel like, well, all I got accomplished physically was just this little bit today. It's about feeling like that is sufficient, and therefore you have to look at it as sufficient. What helps you to do that? For me, the dealing with people who have been hard to please always made me try harder. And so a lot of my own stress was self-induced. I'll be enough. I'll feel like I'm enough when I finally meet someone else's version of what is enough. And it's so common. We're willing to please, we're willing to adapt. But ask yourself, can I just give myself credit for being a proactive and contributing person? Being that person, not the final result of what you produced, okay? And can I commit to noticing, just noticing, that when I push myself or others push me to be an overly productive and contributing person, like, can I notice that, oh, look at that, there's somebody putting that pressure on me? And so that you can kind of say, I'm awake to it, rather than, oh, okay, I'll just hurry up and I'll just keep doing more for you. And can then I be fair, and can I be realistic with myself, with my life, so that I can either stop doing that to myself or figure out how to not feel guilty when I say, you need to stop and I will give this much. It's not ever about needing to, like lose your job over it or something because, your boss is continuously in unrealistic demand mode. But it's almost always been shown to me that when we actually say, I'm going to hold my balance here, because I know that in the mind, heart, spirit aspects of who I am, it's letting me know this is unreasonable. Find a balance. When you hold that balance and when you say, okay, but I'm pacing myself on this, so you're letting work know, or you're letting your limitations or the people who are pushing that pressure on you know that, yeah, I'm going to meet what I can meet, but you're just being realistic, fair and realistic with ourselves first, and then that kind of just plays into how other people receive us. And I've always noticed that when I have been very steady with that, like I've just owned it as, no, I'm going to be fair and realistic with myself, then how that is expressed becomes a kind of acceptance from other people. So I hope that that will prove true for you as you possibly try to bring that into your own experiences of, getting to the point where you're not going to just keep going just so that you won't feel inadequate or feel incompetent, or other people won't make you feel inadequate and incompetent.